Hello, Garland Nixon here, and we are here to talk about a word that I don't like. And the word is propaganda, and it's coming from the Washington Post. That's right, the Washington Post has printed another garbage hit piece, RussiaGate editorial, and we are going to talk about it. Hello, dear friends. Garland Nixon here. Plenty to talk about, as always. And this time we're going to talk about a garbage RussiaGate hit piece from the Washington Post. And it is pure propaganda. Oh, you're going to get a laugh out of this one. You know, the Washington Post, here's what kills me. People talk about the Washington Post. They talk about the New York Times. And these are the paper of record. Well, their record is they're propaganda artists. They're simply a public relations operation for the CIA. And should it really surprise you with the Washington Post? Should anybody be surprised that the Washington Post is garbage? It's owned by the richest man in the world who bought the Washington Post for $200 million. Meanwhile, that same guy got a contract with the CIA for $600 million. So let's count. 3 times more from the CIA than the Washington than he paid for the Washington Post. I think we know where his loyalties are. So let's talk about this crap. So if you know anything about, I need to really take some time and go over some of the so-called Novichok poisonings at some point. But let's talk about this. Let's look here. So the name of the editorial, and it says the Post View, right? This is the Washington Post View, and it's from the editorial board. Well, you know what? Let's click on that. Let's look at the editorial board. Who the hell is the editorial board? Oh, there's all of the articles from them. The editorial board, I'm guessing maybe they're stationed in Langley, Virginia, at the CIA headquarters from the looks of this. All right, let's get to this. Opinion from the editorial board. I would think that's something, ideally, a newspaper of this magnitude, a newspaper of this power, when something comes from the editorial board, it's going to be deep. It's going to make sense. This is going to be some real juicy stuff here, right? Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. So, opinion. Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. It's chilling. Now, let me ask you this. Is there any ambiguity there? Does that say Russia's FSB may have poisoned another critic? Does it say possibly? Does it say we suspect? There is no ambiguity there at all. It says opinion. Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. It's chilling. And so here's the thing. They got to add the scary part. They poisoned another guy. You got to be scared. Oh my God, I got to be scared. They poisoned somebody else. Although if you look at the first 2 poisonings, they don't make a lot of sense. Here we have, and you know what it's going to be with Russia, Novichok. Novichok, my friends, the most deadly poison in the world. 8 times deadlier than sarin gas. If Novichok gets anywhere near you, you're dead in a minute. Unless, of course, you're poisoned with Novichok, according to the mainstream media. If you're the Skripals and you're poisoned with Novichok, you're poisoned with Novichok at 9 a.m. in the morning. It's stuck on your doorknob. And then you walk around for 4 hours, 2 people. You go to a pizza shop. You have drinks, you go to the park and feed the ducks, and then 4 hours later, simultaneously, both you and your daughter passed out at exactly the same time of Novichok poisoning. That's how it works. The most deadly poison in the world that kills you in 30 seconds, you live 4 hours and you still don't die. And oh, by the way, nobody else dies. Or better yet, if you are Alexei Navalny and you're poisoned with Novichok, you're on an airplane, you get sick, and you go to the hospital, and you're in hospital for days. And after you recover, you then fly to Germany, and then Germany says you were poisoned with Novichok. And how were you poisoned with Novichok? 3 different ways. If you're Alexei Navalny, here's how you were poisoned with Novichok. And look this up. The first thing is It was put in your tea at the airport. That's what they first said. Navalny was putting his tea in the airport, right? But what happens? There's video cameras in the airport. So they look at the Navalny video. Wait a minute. There's no evidence of, oh, okay. Oh, wait. Oh, my bad. My bad. Alexei Navalny, it was put on water bottles and he drank it. And then the water bottles were smuggled out of Russia to England. That didn't work so well either. So finally, if you're Alexei Navalny, it was smeared in your underwear. So Alexei Navalny was poisoned. He was poisoned because they put it in his tea until there was video evidence that showed it wasn't put in his tea. Then it was smeared in water bottles, and then it was smeared on the inside of your underwear. Make up your mind. The story kept changing, and none of it made sense. And oh, by the way, did I mention, if you're poisoned with Novichok, it kills you within 30 seconds. Except for some reason, it doesn't kill anybody when they're poisoned with Novichok, according to the mainstream media. So this is all senseless. Let's get to this article. I just had to give you a little background. Russia's FSB poisoned another Putin critic. It's chilling. Well, that's done. They make it clear, right? And then they go on. Dmitry Bykov is a prodigious polymath of Russian letters and journalists. He's written prize-winning biographies. So on they go, right? And then they go to say that he was on a three-city lecture tour. Unbeknownst to him, he was being followed by two officers of the FSB, right? Oh, they followed him. Then they go on. He went to Moscow. He started feeling bad at the airport. He became violently ill. He laid down. His wife said his speech turned jumbled. And then they go on. Okay, so he gets sick in the airplane. But might I add, if he was poisoned with Novichok, he'd have been dead in a minute. Isn't it interesting that if he was actually poisoned with real Novichok, he'd have been dead in a minute? You live like a minute. It kills you. You're done. And might I add, everybody around him would have died because it is that deadly a poison. It would have killed him and everybody around him, but apparently not. So let's go on. So they go on. And here's what's interesting. This set of events is almost identical to what happened to Russia's opposition leader, Alexei Navalny. He's an opposition leader. The man has never gotten more than 4% max. So an opposition leader who can never get 4% of the electorate? Okay, fair enough. So then they go on to say that this information came from Bellingcat. Bellingcat, who they describe as an investigative website. Bellingcat is funded. It's funded by the CIA. It's funded by MI5. It's funded by the U.S. government spy agencies. Which is, I mean, hey, it's just an innocent journalist. So this Bellingcat, which they don't tell you is funded by the U.S. spy agency, says, hey, this guy, he kind of looks like a Novichok poisoning that didn't happen in the past. But here's what I'm going to get to. Here's what I'm going to get to. This is the important part. You know what? What the hell am I doing? Why don't I share this article with you? Let's do this. I'm reading an article and I ain't even sharing it with you. I'm going to share the article with you so you can enjoy the article. Share screen. Here we go. Let's share it. This is the article, right? So let's go on to it. So they go on. So let's go to the top of the article. Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. Poisoned. They don't say could have, may have. We think poisoned. The FSB poisoned someone else. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this. The Bellingcat report documents how the FSB officer trailed Mr. Bykov and suggests, let me read this. Let me read this right here. The Bellingcat report documents how the FSB officers trailed Mr. Bykov and suggests they may have covertly placed the poison on his clothes. Wait a minute. Let's go to the top of the article. Russia's FSB poisoned another Putin critic. Suggests they may have, right? Now, let me add this. Nowhere does it say Novichok or any other kind of poison. Here's what it says. He got sick. He went to the hospital. They say the set of events is identical to what happened to Russia's opposition leader, who isn't an opposition leader, Alexei Navalny. But they say Bellingcat, in partnership with an insider, Der Spiegel, suggests that Mr. Bykov was sickened by a secret poison. The Bellingcat report documents how the FSB officers trailed Mr. Bykov and suggest they may have covertly placed it. How about that? Let's look at the Russia's FSB. Shouldn't that say suggests may have been poisoned? No, it says he was poisoned. This on the Washington Post says they poisoned another Putin critic. But when you get down to the article, it starts to say things like Bellingcat in partnership, blah, blah, blah. So here's what it comes down to. Bellingcat in partner with the insider in Der Spiegel. Okay, so that's important. They work with somebody else. Bellingcat suggests that he was sickened by a secret poison squad of FSB. So let me put this the way it should be. Bellingcat, a website that is financially supported by the United States intelligence agencies and the UK intelligence agencies, suggests without evidence that this man was poisoned with Novichok, or they don't even say Novichok. The Bellingcat documents how the FSB officers trailed Mr. Bykov and suggest they may have. Can you get any further from an actual accusation? Imagine that. Here's an article. The article says, Garland Nixon robbed a bank. Holy crap, Garland Nixon, that son of a gun, how dare he rob a bank? Why, that's a violation. Where is Garland? In jail? Well, I imagine they locked him up by now. Here's an article right here. Garland Nixon robbed the bank. And you get to the article, and the article says, Garland was in the area of the bank at the time that it was robbed, which suggests he may have robbed it. There's a big difference between having an article that says Garland robbed the bank and reading the article and say things suggest Garland may have robbed them. I mean, there are so many qualifiers. Can you get any further from an accusation than suggest may have? And that's it. That's the meat of the article. Hey, some things happen, and a website that is funded by the U.S. intelligence agency, money right from the U.S. government, money right from the UK government, suggests that possibly, maybe, we don't really know. I mean, but hey, let's just throw this out there like it's true. These are the exact words in this article. Bellingcat suggests that Mr. Bykov was sickened by a secret poison squad. Now they're a secret poison squad. The Bellingcat report documents how the FSB officers trailed Mr. Bykov and suggests they may have covertly placed poison on his clothes when he was away from his wife. I suggest they maybe didn't. I suggest you may have no evidence. Let's continue. He suffered symptoms in Ufa similar to Mr. Navalny's. He was later transferred to a neurological and recovered. Doctors, listen to this. Doctors never determined the cause of the poisoning. Wait a minute. If they never determined the cause of the poisoning, how the hell do we know it was a poisoning? So here's what we got. Some Russian guy was going around giving lectures. He got sick on an airplane, and they took him to the hospital, and he recovered. That's what this article says. The guy got sick, he went to the hospital, and he recovered. Now, according to them, I guess he was on an airplane, Navalny was on an airplane. He got sick, Navalny got sick. The doctors couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with Navalny when they were in Russia. They couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with this guy either. But what they say is, listen to this. Let's do this. Let's put two things together right now. Let's do a little investigation here and put a couple things together. Lucky for you, Garland Nixon was a former police officer and an investigator and the commander of the investigations division for a police department. So we're going to do a deep dive here. It ain't that deep. You don't have to dive deep for this one, okay? You don't have to have an investigative background to put these two things together. Here are the two things that I'm going to put together that makes my case. The article is headlined, Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. This guy was poisoned by the FSB. We look at the headline. We know, what do we know if we look at that headline? That the Russians, FSB, their intelligence agency, poisoned somebody. That's what you know. It says it right here. There's no ambiguity. Poisoned another critic. And then we go down here and we find doctors never determined the cause of the poisoning. Russia's FSB poisoned another Putin critic. Doctors never determined the cause of the poisoning. One may look at those two things and think that they contradict each other. There is a certain level of certainty, like an absolute level of certainty. This is an assertion. Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. That is a clear assertion. You're asserting that something happened. This happened. It's raining outside. That's an assertion. I can look outside and either it's raining or it's not. I can go outside. It can be falsified, right? So when somebody makes a clear assertion, Russia's FSB poisoned another critic, that can be falsified. Let's see if we can falsify that or not. Doctors never determine the cause of the poisoning. Wait a minute. If they never determine the cause, how the hell do they know it's a poisoning? The cause, doctors never determine the cause of the poisoning. How do the doctors know it's a poisoning if they never determine the cause? It sounds like they never found poison in his system. I'm guessing if they never determine the cause, you're calling it a poisoning. Now, we go on, and all they do is, in Mr. Navalny's case, blah, 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 blah. Thursday, okay. In the case of Mr. Listen to this. Oh, this is one more goodie, because remember, we know, based on the assertion in the headline, that it's a fact that this guy was poisoned. Bellingcat says, if the poison were the same, it would have hit him after he got drunk. Have you noticed this? Let's go here and put a couple of things together. Bellingcat suggests that he was sickened by a secret poison squad, right? The Bellingcat report documents have blah, 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 and suggests they may have covertly placed the poison on his clothes. May have. And doctors never determined the cause of the poisoning, to which I say, how did they know it was a poisoning? And then they say, Bellingcat says, if the poison were the same, you mean the poison that they never found out that there was poison? If the poison were the same, this appears to be yet another attempted murder by the Russian security services. Now look at this. And a blatant violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention, an international treaty Russia signed and ratified. It shows how Mr. Putin deals with his critics. He sends them killers bearing Novichok. So the first sentence says, Russia's FSB poisoned another critic. The last sentence says, last two sentences, it shows how Mr. Putin deals with his critics. He sends them killers bearing Novichok. The first sentence says he was poisoned. The second sentence says he was poisoned. But in between, it says the doctors never determined the cause. It says there's no evidence. It may suggest possibly that. Pretty embarrassing, isn't it? This is absolute trash and garbage. And this, my friend, is RussiaGate. This is RussiaGate in a nutshell. For those of you who haven't been lucky enough, fortunate enough to see RussiaGate, there it is, right off in the back. Article after article, I could go through article after article where it's the same thing, where they make a claim, but Garland Nixon robbed the bank, and you look at the claim. Well, you know, the evidence suggests Garland might have been in the area when the bank was claimed. We never determined who robbed the bank. And then the last sentence, and we've got to deal with Garland as a bank robber. We know now that's how Garland deals with problems in his life. He robs bank. But the whole article says we don't know who the hell robbed the bank, and we don't even know if a bank was robbed. That's the Washington Post. And let me add this. Do you think that's an accident? Do you think these people are stupid? Do you think the Washington Post is stupid? Do you think this is like they screwed this article up? I don't know how they did that. No, this is intentional propaganda. This is why so many Americans believed in weapons of mass destruction. This is why Americans believed that Saddam Hussein was connected to 9/11. This is why, because the Washington Post and the New York Times, in concert with the CIA, deliberately lies to and propagandizes American people. This is an embarrassment to any newspaper, but not to the Washington Post, because that's all they do. If they hate someone, this is what they do. The Washington Post is not a news website. It is not a newspaper. It is a CIA PR rag, nothing more, and they embarrass themselves. Just wanted a nice short video to put that out there so you can see that. If you like this video, share it. Even if you don't like it, share it anyway. How's that? I don't care if you like it or not. Share the video. Share the video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me at Garland Nixon on Twitter. Make sure you click the little bell so that you get notifications for my YouTube page. And make sure you check all the time. They'll unsubscribe you. They will they will get rid of your notifications. So make sure you check, share it all on all of your social media platforms, at Garland Nixon on Twitter, Garland Nixon on Facebook, Garland.Nixon on Instagram. And you can always email me. How about this? garlandin@gmail.com. I want to thank all my friends for coming on. Peace. I'm out.